Hello and welcome to part 2 of our exploration of D-Day. Well, not exploration, initial thoughts on D-Day, which has gone fairly deep already, but what we've not talked about is the tour, and that's why we decided to split this reaction episode into 2 parts, because normally we just do them in one. Overall.
And I wouldn't have allowed a 2-part for Yoongi unless it was completely fair. It's because of the tour.
Extra content. So we were lucky enough to go on the tour in New York. So on the 25th of April was when I traveled to NYC. So got there really late on the day before, so I wasn't able to scope out the venue the day before because my flight had been cancelled, unfortunately. So it wasn't a later flight, it was a whole thing. Anyway, I had a VIP ticket.
Floor standing.
So floor standing, yeah. So the way that it worked was like the whole floor was VIP. So there was no like little pen near the stage that they let you into or anything. They let you in before everyone is seated, but obviously you still had to queue up to be in front of everyone else who was standing.
I was thinking about this, but floor standing is still a quarter of the people if it was a stadium. So it's still about the same amount of tickets. You know, like if you would have gone to PTD soundcheck, there would have been 5,000 tickets, even though the floor was 20,000 people.
Right.
And for Yoongi, there's 5,000 tickets on the floor.
Yeah.
But that's all the floor because they were smaller venues.
Sure. Yeah, so you had to queue up from early in the morning. So I was lucky enough to have a friend that I'd made online. Nicole, shout out to you if you're listening, although she told me she'd never listened to a podcast before in life, so probably not.
She ain't listening.
But if you are, thank you for queuing early because I got in so late. I met her up with her a little bit later on, but she got there about 5. I got there sort of just after 7, I think. And we ended up with about 420 people in front of us. I think we had a big group that we met just in the queue. So we ended up in a big group of like 15 people, some Americans, some Canadians, some Italians, Belgians, I think. So people who traveled and people who were more local. There were a couple of girls in that big group that also had like little freebies to hand out. So I found that really reassuring because I had our little freebies. So
before Christine went, I made 400 little bags of photo cards, stickers, chocolates, gifts, then realised that we had to get them there. Yeah. So they filled like a whole half of a suitcase.
Yeah. It was fine.
They squashed down.
Yeah, they did. So, yeah, I was handing out those. But yeah, so we were in the queue for a while, and then they sort of started the official queue at 8, and around sort of noontime they gave us these wristbands, and they actually were quite like strict about the wristband. The wristband had a number on it that related to your queue position, and sort of the people you were with would have consecutive numbers. And then they were like, right, so go off, do whatever you want, be back here at 3 if you want merchandise, or you need to be back before 5 if you want to see sound check. So then we went off to like Wendy's, got some food and like warmed up a bit, and then we went back in around 3:30 to get merchandise. It was really dumb though because we were all obviously standing. And then we bought all this merch, and these girls had taken orders from like their friends and stuff because they had VIP.
Yeah, you got VIP entry to match.
Exactly.
Right? You don't want to stand in the line for 6 hours if you've got VIP.
No, but then after we'd bought stuff, they were like, oh yeah, so you can't put it in bag check because it's merchandise. We don't want to take responsibility for that. And we were like, okay. And then people still had like big bags that they wanted to put in bag check. And then they were like, oh, my bag check actually doesn't open till like the rest of like GA doors open.
No, so you couldn't check your bag.
So you couldn't check anything.
Oh.
So we all had to just like hold all our shit.
Hold your merch.
Like I had this huge Tesco bag with me that I'd like, thankfully I'd eaten like most of the snacks and stuff that I bought already, but I had held my Tesco bag for the whole show.
Just like waving it around.
Yeah.
You're getting every little help.
Yeah, exactly. That was a bit silly. And then I don't know why this was, but there was a bit of a delay. So we were they sort of lined us up according to our numbers, but in the like halls of the venue, probably until like 6:15. And they told us that sound check would happen at 5:30. So we were all like freaking out that we wouldn't get to see sound check because we could hear them play the songs and someone singing live, but it was so like muffled that you couldn't really hear. So we thought I think he was rehearsing Burn It, for example, and we thought that they'd got like a vocalist in to sing the song that Max does on the album. And we were like, oh, it's going to be like guest feature from Max and that's going to be exciting and stuff. But then obviously it turns out that he sings the whole song himself. because he's worked on his singing. But then right after 6, they did let us in, and then they sort of let us all walk down these different corridors. People from number 1 in the queue to number 400 in the queue were let down first. So we sort of watched them fill up the barricade around the stage, which was really painful. But at
least there was a numbering system, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
bearing
exactly.
in mind when we went to Music Bank, there was people who'd paid for VIP who got let in when everyone else got let in.
Yeah.
At least there was some organisation.
Yeah, it was, aside from the backcheck thing, it was fairly well organised. Yeah, so they all lined up around the pen, and like 400 people, let me tell you, it's a lot more people than I thought. So I was like, it's going to be...
It's full!
It's not going to be so full. And then it just got full, and I was like, oh no, it's 1 layer of people, 2 layers of people, 3 layers of people. Oh. So I got in, and I think I was probably like 5 people from the barricade, I'd say. We ended up standing right at the front, like slightly to the left. So there was this monitor that was kind of in my way, but other than that, I could see him really well when he was on the top stage, and we'll get to the stage design later. And then he came out for sound check. He did People Part 2 and STL for sound check. He was wearing these little like trousers that had the zippers at the knees, and I was like, what? This is the dorkiest outfit I've ever seen anyone in, but sure.
The sort of fisherman waders.
Yeah, exactly. Those are like for hiking.
Yeah.
But maybe he just wasn't sure how warm it was going to be. That feels like
in a stadium in New York.
That feels like something he'd do, to be honest. Like, oh yeah, I just wasn't sure. Like when they went on in the soup, he was the only one that the season they went to Scandinavia to like Norway. He packed like hiker stuff, and all the others just brought like designers, jumpers, like cool stuff to wear. And then he got there, he was like, right, I need to go shopping. But yeah, he is very practical, so maybe that is genuinely why. But yeah, he was wearing those and his little like hoodie that he said he'd made for the crew, because he said he paid out of his own money to make like a crew hoodie with all the dates on and all the like the graphics on and stuff like that.
Oh, that would be a good
so
job.
He's wearing that, yeah, and he had some like little sunglasses on, the yellow ones. So yeah, it was obviously a bit overwhelming because he was right there in front of me. I'd never seen him that close before, even though we'd seen him in Busan. He was obviously a tiny speck.
Yeah,
then.
we were at the back in Busan. We were
so
seated.
Yeah, it was a good day. We made a lot of friends with the people around us. There were these 3 Korean girls right in front of us. One of them said that she had VIP standing for like all 3 New York days and some of the California ones.
How?
And I was like, how are you doing this?
There's definitely armies out there listening like, Christine, how have you done 3 days of Yoongi in New York?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The way that I got tickets for all 3 days was we had everyone I knew with the Army membership, I was like, please register for pre-sale, even if you're not going. So that we got, I think between like 5 or 6 of us, we got 4 codes, I think. So that was lucky. One of my friends, another shout out to Kevin, standard shout out to the person on this podcast, but he's getting shout outs for life for now, because he got a really low queue number, essentially, was what happened. He got like number 500 or something like that for day 1 in New York. So he got in, and I was like, please, can you buy me a good ticket, please? So he bought me the VIP for standing 1 for about, I think I paid $470, which is about 370 pounds, I think it came to. So in comparison to what some other people paid, it was a really good price. Obviously, it's still a big financial outlay, but yeah, by the time I got in, so I was queue number like 2,000 plus, and that was for the Saturday. But I think I could have bought a VIP ticket for the Saturday as well. It's just that by then it cost like $900.
Really? So
yeah, and it was like
stupid dynamic pricing.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes later. So dynamic pricing, guys. We're
Absolute
not bad.
joke.
Please, can we stop this? I don't like it. It doesn't make any sense. You're going to sell all your tickets anyway. Just like charge what you want to charge for the ticket, because you'll have fans that can't afford those tickets, right? But then the problem was that by the end, the like level 2, level 3 seats were selling for like $200-300 as well.
Ridiculous.
It's just way too expensive.
And then all that does is push up the StubHub resale prices as well. I saw a really good thread about this that was like, if Hybe want to make more money and make more merch, there has never been a Hybe merch sale that like the Yoongi merch sale that just happened now, like sold out within 10 minutes. Like
it wasn't even 10 minutes.
Get your suppliers in line.
Yeah.
Get stuff sorted. Like you've got this massive fandom who want to give you money in exchange for value.
Yeah.
Do not put increasing value on concerts.
I know. And also, like,
there's lots of fans who can afford merch and want merch but can't get merch.
Yeah.
Because you've not sorted this supply problem.
You've not made enough. It feels like they sort of want to maintain this era of exclusivity, which I sort of understand, but you could make like
double
1,000 more of each item and then easily sell that and still have it be exclusive. And then also, like, there's a lot of people have said this, but what they really should do is really release some of their old content, like the Wings DVDs and like Red Bullet Tour and that, like, memories from previous years and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, now that they've got new
exactly,
fans.
There are loads of new fans that would buy that stuff.
Yeah. You can imagine paying £300 for a back floor tier-free seat when you paid $470 for a floor.
Exactly, and it's just completely it becomes.
It makes no sense. It's completely illogical.
It's unfair. It just. Lottery of who gets in first gets a lower price. By the time you got in, you could be priced out.
And it's not even like who's like the most aware, because everyone arrives like literally at the same
and that's the
second.
thing. Like, I think maybe they could do a thing where, like, for the first 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever, it's one price, and then after that it goes up so that you get like the onrush and you make sure that you sell out straight away.
Yeah.
But like having it be one price and then 2 minutes later it's over double the price, it's just ridiculous. If you're going to do this, please speak to Ticketmaster about maintaining a price for the people who log on straight away, because otherwise
you need to have
unfair.
Like a set price of everyone that arrived at the same time.
Yeah, people with quick browsers or quick computers or whatever are just always going to win out, or it's just going to be like buying a lottery ticket like this.
Well, I saw actually today, because Natasha's going to be in Korea in June. I saw today someone had shared on Instagram that they had got a ticket for Yoongi in Seoul, but that was a raffle. So then just do that, even though that hurts.
Yeah.
And it's really awful and cuts people off.
I definitely prefer let's all log on at the same time, but like if we're all making the effort to log on at the same time, go through all the registering and getting our codes and all that sort of stuff, because the codes were a raffle.
Some people got waitlisted.
But yeah, it's please no more dynamic pricing. Yeah, anyway, for the concert itself, so day 2 I managed to get a ticket. I don't know if people saw this, but like a couple of days before the first show they said that they'd released a few sponsor like invitee holds. So I managed to get one of those tickets for day 2, which was almost as expensive as the VIP floor ticket, but it was seated on level 1. And then for day 3 Leanne and I went in on level 2, and we got those tickets through the first Army on sale because we'd registered with a few accounts.
And we paid $90 for them. Very expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And should we talk about the actual concert?
Though day 3, super stressful compared to day 1. Pouring it down with rain. We did like a little fan meet up where we could meet people and give out freebies, and then we went to a cup sleeve event. Christine was like, oh yeah, it was really easy, really well organised the last couple of days. Like, we'll go straight in, it'll be fine. And I was like, in my little panicked head, like, nah, we need to get in this line now. I don't know what's happening. There's so many people here. We need to start waiting. We ended up getting in the line at about, 6?
The thing is, the doors didn't open till 6:30.
Yeah.
So we thought that there wasn't any point getting in line. I think we got maybe in line, maybe more around 7.
And it still wasn't moving.
No, it wasn't moving.
Nothing was moving. Nothing was happening. It got to the point where they ended up having to open extra doors and let people in, and then everyone with their umbrellas, and everyone was just rushing, and the crowd started screaming, and we still went in our seats, and there was definitely girls around us that arrived like 2 songs in. There's a VCR that opens. We got there just for the VCR, but it was like the VCR and then 2 songs, and that's when our section was sort of full. So there'd been loads of armies who had just not been able to like get in their seats in time. It was just chaos.
I mean, I thought because I'd gone on day 2, I got there quite late just because of like travel connections in New York. And on day 1, he didn't start till 8:30 because of these delays, I guess, around soundcheck. I don't know why there were delays, but there were delays. Whereas day 2, I sort of thought, because, you know, like sometimes they tell you a concert, like they tell you it starts at 8 and then it doesn't come on till like 9:30, whatever. So I was like, oh, he's probably going to come on at 8:30. Like, that's the thing. But then I walked in at like 8:01 and the VCR had already started. So then I was like, no, he comes on at 8 if there's no delays. But then day 3 came on at like 8:20 maybe.
But not everyone was in.
No.
Still. But he changed venues, hadn't he? He'd gone from Queen's to New Jersey, so
Yeah.
I think maybe it was that venue that was.
It was definitely the venue
poorly
because
organised.
what I was going to say was when I arrived for day 2, I walked straight in. Like I arrived at 7:55 maybe, and just there was no one waiting. So yeah, the UBS Arena did a better job than the Prudential Center.
Yeah, and the Prudential Center did not do a good job. They were just not ready. Even when they opened all the doors to let everyone in, they had like one security scanner.
Yeah.
That they were trying to make everyone walk through and then empty their bags. And everyone was just like, right, I'm going to leave my shoes, I'm going to leave my coat, I'm going to leave everything. He's about to start. Like, let me through.
At the first venue that they did, like, barely checked bags. Like, we got in with loads of food, loads of water, like, loads of all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to bring to a concert. I don't think they even checked what was in my Tesco bag. It was just very strange. The first venue was like, yeah, bring whatever you would like. And the second venue was like, no, is that an umbrella? You can't bring that in.
It's an umbrella. It's been pouring down with rain for literally all day.
Umbrella.
We've been stood in the rain for like 6 hours. What do you mean I can't bring my umbrella in?
Yeah.
Anyway, the VCR started playing. She started screaming. Put our army bombs on. Put my coys on. You put your shuckers on. We were ready. We were hyped.
So prior to the show, he's got a lot of praise for this because apparently not a lot of concerts have it, and I've not seen that many concerts to be honest, but he provided a trigger warning prior to the show for like flashing imagery, lights and pyrotechnics and stuff like that. So and it was like, oh, if you feel uncomfortable or whatever, you should just see a member of staff. So that was on the screens right before the first VCR came on, and then there was all this like thunder and lightning sounds in the venue, and then the VCR came on, and then after, I won't spoiler the VCRs, so the VCRs were brilliant. I thought they were amazing. I've got them all videoed so I can do my all interpretation of them. They also said that he'd sort of advised staff not to take down streaming videos because apparently a lot of the people who filmed the whole concert and put it up online, their videos have just been left there. So people who couldn't go watch can watch it that way. Obviously, we don't know whether that was his decision or not, but that's what people are saying. And apparently he was handing out free whiskey, but I didn't see that on any days. So
we saw it online, didn't we? The Hennessy stand.
And then for the first song, like we said, he was carried onto the stage by some dancers. It was as if he was dead because, he was lying
It's
down.
like he was crucified.
Yeah.
Corpse.
Yeah, like a corpse, like he was lying sort of still with his eyes closed. They sort of put him down on the stage and then he got up and did Hegum. That was the first song to that award section. But yeah, part 1, like the first 3 parts were very sort of Augusty. So he did Hegum, Dechta, and then Augusti from the first mixtape.
A to the G to the U to the STD.
That one, yeah. And then he did a little like intro speech where he was like, I'm Augusti or Sugar or Yoongi. And then everyone went crazy, obviously. And then he did an acoustic version of Seesaw with a little guitar. He had this guitar, this like acoustic guitar with all the members' like signatures.
No, that JK had signed Yoongi Marry Me.
Yeah, JK had put Yoongi Marry Me. Tape put something like Yoongi Young is the best rapper of all time or something like that.
Very cute.
So on day 3, he sat down to play it, and then all of a sudden one of the strings broke.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah,
saw that on
did.
the screen when he did his little meow meow face.
He poked his little lip
Got
out.
his little lip out, looked confused.
And then they gave him a different guitar. So that was a bit sad. He couldn't use it on that day. And then he did like a softer section. So he did People Part 2, and SDL. And then the first part before he sort of went off the stage again ended on Burn It, which was this huge production with loads of pyro, and where he also sang, like he rapped the verse, but then he also sang the chorus, which obviously he doesn't do on the original record.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was really good. The stage design was really cool, really intricate, but you couldn't see him if you were floor standing unless you were barricade for like quite a bit of the concert, because the way that it was designed was like these little like platforms that were hanging down from the ceiling. He started the concert on that platform, and then one by one the little like squares of the platform would be like taken up to the ceiling, like lifted up. He had this like stage set up underneath this platform as well that was just on ground level, but because obviously you're on ground level and he's on ground level, if you're not like right at the front, you're not going to see him.
You got the screens, I guess.
Yeah, but it was really cool. when I was in level 1 standing, I was really cool because you could see everything in the different layers and where he went.
It looked really cool from level 2 as well. The fire comes through the floor and the smoke comes through the floor and the lights come through the tables, but then you're really scared because there's all that red tape and fire everywhere, and you're like, don't get burnt, Yoongi. Like, you're literally like, it's a fire pit down there.
Yeah, so the way that they sort of mapped it out was as they lifted more and more of the platform bits, he'd spent more time on the floor, but because there was so much pyro, they'd sort of taped out gangways for him to walk in. But obviously we were worried. I was really worried on day 1 because the little like platforms of the stage had these chain ropes.
What if one drops on him?
Yeah, well, I was worried that he was going to walk into them. I was worried that he was going to like dip into these little gaps between the stage platforms.
Oh yeah, because they're not connected.
No,
yeah.
They were like
fall through a little.
So I was like, oh my god, he's going to fall down. He's going to run into this wire. He's going to get burnt. Like something's going to go wrong. But it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was. I was very nervous on day 1, but yeah, it was fine. Yeah. So then for the like first song, he went down to the lower level for was STL, wherein he sort of sat on these little chairs, like down underneath the stage. And then he sort of went up and down. But like as the concert went on, they lifted up more and more of the platforms. So sort of it was okay at first because they only took away the side ones. But then when they took away the like front center ones, that was really sad because now you know that he's not going to come as close to you as he was. So, and he can come as close, but you're not going to see him when he's as close. So that was really sad. So they sort of gradually lifted away the stage where he could come closer to you.
And taking away the front rather than the back is sad because you're like, oh, now he's going to be on that platform back there.
So they took away the whole thing in the end, but I remember they took away the front before like the second row. I think the second row was the last to go. So yeah, that was sad. But
it was good staging though. Brought all the levels and stuff because you got to remember they are still smallish venues.
Yeah.
Like it'll be a lot of expensive staging for a venue that small.
Yeah, it was good. And then he spoke in English throughout. I thought he sounded great. He had these prompts that he was reading off, but still like he said the like similar things each time, but he didn't say exactly the same thing. So it wasn't like he was just reading. He shouted out to Hobie. And then he said he was nervous without his members, but the crowd made him feel better.
Yeah.
And then when Jimin was there on day 3, then he was like, oh, but today I've got one of my members here with me.
One of my brothers, yeah.
So he feels better.
But we were really, the whole crowd that day were like, he's here for Tony Montana. We'd seen it on Twitter that Jimin was in the building today. He's not been in the building the last 2 days. I was really stressed on day 1 that Jimin and Aram would be there because of these stupid Met Gala rumours. And I was like, oh my God, I could have been there for day 1, but I'm not. I'm not going to be able to cope. But it was fine. He was very cute wearing his Yoongi merch though. Day 1, we watched it on TikTok, Natasha and I. I was meant to fly the next day at like 12. And once we clicked the link, it was 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning when I was like, cool. That was amazing. I'm now going to go to sleep because I've got to fly in 6 hours. But it was really great to watch it. There was loads of people watching the stream.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But yeah, after that, he talked about how all of his solo stuff had been quite intense so far. But from now on, he wants to tell his stories with less anger, which he got a big cheer. And I was like, that's great. But also, I'm here for the anger. I'm happy that you feel less angry. But I also like your angry songs. And I've spoke to a lot of the girls around me, and they were also like, yeah, but like, that's why we're here. I think obviously as he goes back to writing for BTS, it's going to be naturally less angry anyway. Then in part 2 of the concert, so he went off, there was another VCR, and then he did like all his BTS songs. So he did Cypher 3 and 4, UG and Dang, and some of the like, I've put lighter Augusty songs, including Polar Night, Snooze, Life Goes On, and then he finished on Amygdala.
Where he dies.
Yeah, that was when he was like, oh, guys, sadly. And everyone was like, no. And he was like, no, sadly. And everyone was like, no, Yoongi, no, you can't go. And that went on for a while. But then he was like, no, this is the last song. And then obviously it wasn't the last song because he did an encore.
But then it could have been the last song because he collapsed and then they came and carried him off. I was just gobsmacked.
Yeah, and then he would do this thing where when he sang, I think it was that song that he did when he sort of would hold the mic stand. with both hands, and then at times when he sort of stopped singing, he'd put like his little head down in his elbow.
Yeah, and he looked really sad.
And then he looked like he was like really shattered or like really sad. And yeah, that was really sad. When he did Life Goes On, he was sat at the piano, and that's when in standing he was like, I don't know how much this is, but like 6 feet in front of me, but I couldn't see him.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he walked off again, and then one of the VCRs came on again, and then he came back and he did D-Day, the song, and then he looked for Samsung phones.
Samsung phones only. Oh, iPhones disguised as Samsung phones.
I don't think he said it the first day, but the second couple of days he was like, no, only Samsung phones, because obviously they're sponsored by Samsung, and also Samsung is a Korean company, so that makes sense. Yeah, he did some endments in Korean, so he said he wanted to speak more freely, so he'd speak in Korean, and then he had a translator. On the first day, he would like started speaking, and then the translator would speak, and the translator spoke really quickly, but it was a female translator, and the next thing he said was like, oh, it's a woman.
Yeah,
and then the translator was like, oh, it's a woman.
Because she'd have to say it back, right?
Yeah.
I was surprised when it was a woman translator.
Yeah. It was funny. And then he finished the concert on Nevermind, and then the last, which was super emotional. And then at the end, he just walked off.
Yeah, it wasn't carried off. He just walked.
No, he walked off, and the music was still playing, and then they turned the lights on, and like started stripping the stage, and we were like, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd. It does feel a bit, because you've got this big collapse.
Yeah.
And walk off, and then you've got the relief of him coming back. But it's always ever since someone mentioned it on one of the videos that we've watched about how the boys, like when the stage takes them away, like they like to be stood in the little elevator and then be taken away because they don't like to walk away from armies. So then when he just walked off, I was like, oh God, he could just come back.
Yeah.
Just come back. You're literally just there. We're still here. Like, just come back. And then the lights are up, and then security's like, get your stuff. You're like, we've not even taken any pictures.
He didn't come back.
He did not come back.
I knew at that point, but we did take some pictures. So yeah.
What did you think of the concert online?
I liked it. It looks pretty cool, and then going for the pictures and videos that you two sent, they looked really cool. I wish I feel like they could have made some more money on Weverse showing the performance, I guess. Because the live streams, obviously, people's signal go down and everything. So it kept going like a big bit, and then it'd stop, and then it'd come back, and then it'd stop again. It was ruining the mood of enjoying the concert, but it did look good. It did look really good.
I thought I'd cry during Amygdala, and I didn't. I cried during Snooze.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Because but you cried like the whole way through.
No, I didn't.
Did you just cry once on day 3?
2 or 3 times.
3, yeah, maybe 3. And I cried at Snooze, like half looking at Jermaine, half looking at Yoongi, half thinking about the pianist, half thinking about being alive. Oh, it was overwhelming.
Oh, I mainly enjoyed it. I didn't cry that much, but there were a couple times. I think the last day I cried a lot because I'd cried the morning after the second day, because then I was like, oh, it's almost over. So on the third day I was crying more because that was the last time I'd see him. On the first day, I think I also cried a couple times. Doing sound check I did, because that was like the first time I saw him. And then after that, I can't really remember, but there were these girls right behind me that like were sobbing for the entire thing. So I remember them really well. They cried a lot more than me.
Oh.
No.
Well, that's what I thought. Because when we went to do BTS in the cinema, we both sobbed. Like for the first time we see it, we just sobbed the entire way through.
Yeah, but that's because we'd already seen it.
We'd
didn't
already
sob
seen it.
No, I didn't cry all that much, which I was a bit surprised at. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. I was really concerned because I think he'd sort of said that if people were like jumping, dancing, having a good time, that would give him more like confidence for the performance. Because obviously they all say that, but like that's what he'd said. He said he was nervous about his first show as a solo artist and all that sort of stuff. So on the first day, I was like, if he ever looks at me, I want to look like I'm having fun. So I was really concerned about that. Mainly because obviously loads of people were just filming the entire time. But I did feel like in the standing VIP, that was where the most people like knew all the lyrics, like were really into it. Whereas when we were in seated a couple of times, I did feel like there were a couple of people around me that didn't.
Well, I actually felt like that when I was there day 3.
Yeah.
Even though I'd listened to the playlist over and over, I was like, I still don't know all of these songs. Like when you said, "Oh, I've not spent enough time with it."
Yeah, I think like obviously there were a lot of people filming, and I'd sort of also been a little wary of that. He sort of mentioned in the past a couple of times that he doesn't like to just see phones, like not see people's faces. So I did film a little bit because obviously you want to have some memories on your phone, but mainly I was just trying to focus on being there. Like I didn't want my phone to be in front of my face the whole time. And then people like around me were really good at controlling that people didn't have their phones way over their face so that people behind couldn't see, keep everything eye level. So when I did film, I sort of had my phone next to my face. I wasn't looking like through it. But yeah, I thought like it was perfect. He did so many things. He did singing like he's never sang before, I don't think.
Did that amazing vocal.
Yeah,
I was
really
like,
good.
Is that even him? That's someone else. You were like, look, and I looked and he was there and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's an amazing vocal. What was it in?
I think it was Burn It.
Burn It.
Yeah, that's the one where he doesn't sing on the original album. And then he sang quite a lot at the piano when he was doing Life Goes On. Obviously he rapped, but all the like fast parts, you can see him really concentrate, but he was just really sweaty and like glowing. And then he played his guitar and he played his piano, and then he didn't really do any choreo, but the movements that he did do, he looked very confident, I thought. Like he looked like he wasn't, even though he said he was, it's obviously different for him to be on stage without his bandmates and without having to do choreo and all that sort of stuff, but it didn't look out of place.
He commanded the stage.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, you didn't tell the people that you got covered in the water.
Oh yeah. On the
you
first
got hit by
day,
the water.
On the first day, he did like
the baptism.
Yeah, well, on all the days, I think he did the like drinking bottle, and he threw his water out on the crowd. And on the first day, I was hit by a little droplet on my top of my head, and I didn't want to wash my hair ever again, but I have now. But anyway,
brilliant.
I've had a bit of the post-concert blues since, so I think it's better now, but the first week after, then I haven't really listened to the album. Sorry, Yoongi, because it makes me too sad.
Do we want to tell them about how we got scammed?
No.
No?
It's too embarrassing.
I feel like we should.
Do it just to warn other armies.
Armies that are in New York.
And as stupid.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thing. It'd be like when you see the videos of being like, this is how to not enter a cult in South Korea. That's a useful video.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah, it was quite embarrassing, but still.
It was the day after the concert when we were in New York. We were going to drop our bags off near Madison Square Garden because that's where we were getting our train from to the airport. And then we saw on Twitter that Yoongi had got out of the cars to go into the NBA game, and then sort of looked around and realised that we were stood like literally outside. We were looking at their cars. There was like 7, 8 black tinted window SUVs there.
Yeah,
and
we don't know if they were their cars, but you could see in the video of him entering, you could see these 2 shops.
Yeah, so we'd realised it was the same shop, and it was literally just there. And we were like, oh my God, were we like 2 minutes away from crashing into Yoongi? Surely we've not been that close. And it was pouring it down with rain, and we were pretty miserable. You know what? And then there was this guy who was like, oh, do you want tickets to the game, tickets for the Knicks? And we were like, oh, well, if Yoongi's in there, why didn't we think about this earlier? And Christine was like, I did think about it earlier, but they were super expensive, and I didn't know if you wanted to do it. And I was like, oh, but maybe we could go and get like our posters, and we could make like a sign, and then we could be on the big screen. We asked him about the tickets, and he was like, oh, $150. And we were like, no, that's too expensive. Then the scalper came back and said, oh, do you want the tickets for $100? And we were like, oh, what's $100 to get on the big screen? So then we said, oh, we don't have any. Do you take like apps? Have you got the tickets? He was like, no, I only take cash. He walked us to a cash machine. We drew out $200. He put some tickets in our hand that on reflection were poorly printed. We went all the way back to our luggage to get our luggage. We bought some big poster paper, big pens, went off to Madison Square Garden, got there, and the guy was like, these are obviously fake tickets.
Yeah.
And then we asked if we could go in, like if there was anything they could do. And the guy was like, 1, it's already half time. So we got the timings wrong.
Yeah.
And 2, you need to go to the box office. We went to the box office and the box office said they had some tickets at the back for 4K, which we couldn't afford. So then we let it go. And we went and got Cat's sandwiches. We went and got pastrami sandwiches to make up for the fact that we'd just been scammed. And we were so excited to show Yoongi our signs.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. No, we were excited. I felt like it was like serendipitous almost. And we'd like had this chance to like live in the moment and seize the day, whatever.
It was meant to be. We were meant to be in this situation.
Yeah, through the magic of checkout times. But yeah, I think I'd seen online that the game started at, it must have been 2 a.m. KST, because I was convinced that I'd seen it started at 2. Yeah, if I'd seen that, I think I maybe would have known better. But
there was many points when we should have realised, like when he walked us to the cash machine, when we held the ticket and it was a paper ticket in an electronic world. Thankfully, though, we did see other armies there. There was about 7 or 8 other armies also trying to get tickets on Ticketmaster or on StubHub.
All over America, they kept giving us paper tickets like for the train and stuff. So I was like, oh, it's just not that digital here. And like at the stadium I work at, we have paper tickets. Like we don't use them loads, but we have them. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. But obviously it wasn't fine.
And we were really sad. And in the end, we ended up missing the opportunity to go and see Hobie Street because we'd run out of time getting scalped by trying to pursue going to see Yoongi at the NBA. It was sad. The rain in New York was hell. It was torrential for like 2 days. So yeah, watch out for scalpers of armies. Sounds too good to be true. Probably is.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, let's do awards. So the first question we normally ask, well, it's not awards really, it's just like initial thoughts. The first question we usually ask is, what do we think about the album overall? Who wants to start?
Natasha, you drive, because we've talked for a long time.
I like it. I like the content that came with it. I think they works well. Obviously, there were going to be meaning towards everything to find out. And I really enjoyed the actual track list design, which also continues onto the merch that you've got, like the blue and orange, like neon line, which makes like the glitch and everything. That's really cool. And now we obviously have a glitch filter to put on Instagram, which works okay. I think I'd prefer if his face were in it. They need to do ones with like their actual faces, or even if you were just like on corner at a screen, like glitching. Like, cool. But yeah, I know from Leanne's face, she's like, why did you said that you liked this one? But I think what's made me like this more is the fact that it comes with a tour. That he's had the idea of like, we're doing solos, I'm going to put an album out, I'd really like to do a tour with it. Obviously, the others probably thought, oh, that's a good idea, I'd like to do that too, but he was the one to initiate it, and it's worked well so far. I like the stuff that you get with the tour, because I feel like that's what most people do. You do an album, you do your tour.
It's more of a comeback than a filler.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think it's very brave of him. Brave in a way that the others haven't been brave. I mean, Hobie didn't have time.
I think he had
with
like
Lola.
9 months.
He did Lola. But Aram didn't want to. I don't know why Jimin didn't tour.
I think probably there was nervousness around, like there's probably more nervousness around being the first than we realized. Jimin probably doesn't have the catalog to do a tour because he only has those 4 songs that he put out, plus his BTS solos. I think it wasn't the right time for RM. I don't think it was he wasn't in the right mindset. And then I think for J-Hope, I don't know. I think the amount of stress that you saw him put into Hope You Palooza, maybe it felt like, because he was going first with the solo album, maybe it felt a bit daunting to take on a whole tour at that stage.
Yeah, it was a big precipice.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the first of them to do anything.
There's always times when they can change the plan right if it had gone terribly, but it was never going to go terribly.
Yeah, it wasn't going to go terribly. But yeah.
Have you been listening to the album?
Yes. I've been trying to, yesterday, having a big argument with Alexa. Like, yeah, I'm like, play Augustine. She's like, K-pop radio. And I'm like, no, Augustine. She's not having it. She don't know any of his names. She'd not have no idea what's happening in the music video for Higum. She'd not have a clue. I had to just, on my laptop, I can play individual songs, but you play one song and she'll go on to like Girls' Generation. So you've got to be on top of the next. But yeah, I'll be listening.
Nice. Right.
Okay.
Well, obviously, I love it, is what I've written. I was, like I said, really nervous on release day, but I should have kept full faith in my guy. I think the opening 4 songs are probably the strongest part, in my opinion. Like, those the ones that I resonate the most with. But the calmer middle part, like, I've liked his calmer songs in his past albums, so it's not that I don't like the calm songs. It's just the calmer part is like, yeah, I like it. It's nice. And then the songs from Polar Night until the end are also very like strong, but more melancholy, not so much with the swagger. So yeah, I really love it. And I know it took him a long time to write it, and that he was a bit stuck for inspiration for a while. He was talking a bit about like how it was difficult to write songs like Amygdala, especially, I think, because he had to sort of obviously dig within his own trauma, etc. So I think we're seeing the fruits of all of that labor. Like, it's not like he just sat down and wrote an album. Like, it's been something that's lived and sort of existed with him for the last 3 years, and he's worked hard to finish off this August chapter and sort of finish telling that story, if you will. And I think he's talked about how he feels that he's run out of stories to tell about his past. And I think August D, the album, and D2 definitely had a lot of autobiographical elements within them, whereas this album seems to sort of, at least thematically overall, be about how he foresees moving on from his sort of personal struggles, like in D-Day when he talks about future's going to be okay, and in Amygdala, and in Life Goes On especially, even though I haven't done that deep dive yet, but that's sort of the feeling it leaves me with. And as someone who, like, obviously is a fan of the music but cares about him as well, then that's quite nice to see, because I want him to feel positive and be happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a fan. I really liked People Part 2 because that's more of my sort of sound. I liked Let Hagen fit with Dejtan. I like the sound of it. It was a bit too heavy, a bit too rappy for me for a while. And then after we'd watched Road to D-Day, I think it sort of all sort of fell into place because I really sort of understood a bit more about the process that he'd gone through and the choices that he'd made and the choices he'd taken. And then obviously when Amygdala sort of came through and out, that really sort of pushed it to another level in my view because of that raw nature of it and how long he'd agonised over making it as a song. But then there is still a lot of rap within there that I wouldn't necessarily seek out on a day-to-day basis or be able to tell you what the names of the songs were or how they were. But I think overall, it's a really good album. And obviously the tour's amazing and I'm super jealous of the tour. But I was glad that I got to see some.
Yeah, well, you got to go to the tour, so you saw more than a lot of other armies.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we all like it. That's good. What do we think about the lead single picks? So obviously he's done 3 lead singles. Does anyone want to open on that one?
I think they're good. I think they're a good mixture. They show the different parts and spectrum of the music. They sort of fit within this different, like you said, it's a mix of genres. So I think it shows that real spectrum of his talents and the sort of music that he can produce and he likes to produce. I think they're all valuable lead tracks. I think if there was only, we can get to the Would You Switch Honey out, I might.
Do you want to say that now so we don't?
Yeah, so I think I would have switched in maybe Snooze. I think Snooze might have been better than People Part 2.
Yeah.
Just because of that relationship and the collaborations within that and that sort of softer vocal. And I think because he's done a song with IU before, it felt a little bit done.
Yeah.
Like even though it was soft, it felt a little bit safe. So I might have swapped that because I think Snooze is a really brilliant song and a really brilliant moment for him. And then I think Hagen was great, very theatrical, basically digital, completely on brand. And then Amygdala I thought was really great. If anything, Amygdala came a bit late. And like you said, it's not had as much press.
Yeah, no, I think similar. I think he's picked the right tracks. He said that he put out People Part 2 because he wanted to reconcile Augusti's name with this softer style that's more reminiscent of BTS, but I probably agree that I prefer Snooze as a song, and I did write that I think it's a little sad that it hasn't sort of had that moment of being listened to by people who won't sit down with the album, because I think the message in that song is for, obviously for up and coming artists, which sort of made me a little bit sad that I wasn't an up and coming artist, but I hope those up and coming artists hear it. So I think if maybe he'd put it out as a single, maybe it's a bit heavy to be the lead single, like the pre-release single. But if he's put it out with more press around that song, then maybe it would have had more of the effect they wanted. But I did write, I think the only one he could have switched it is People Part 2, but I don't think it really would have worked, just because of the grandeur of that song might have distracted from the other two lead tracks.
Maybe you would have done and then I would have seen Hobie again.
Oh yeah.
And then they would have been together doing a little rap MV.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. I would have liked that.
That would have been nice. Yeah, and I think Hagen was an obvious choice as a successor to Daechta, which he said that he wrote it straight after he wrote Daechta. He uses the same reference to Korean traditional music. And I think releasing Amygdala was important in terms of the story that he wanted to tell about the scar and the 3 music videos back to back. And I think a song like that, because obviously it's helpful for the audience, but also because he poured so much of his heart into it, it deserves the single treatment.
Mash?
I'd go with sticking with How It Is, just for the fact that they're very, very different songs. And I like the feature of IU, but it would have been nice if there were if maybe in Seoul she pops her head up. So then we have a mixed stage, a strong Yoongi, Higum from Digitar, and then I can't remember how to pronounce it, that brainy one.
Amygdala.
Yeah. I always want it weird, Janari, how he says Miami. I always want to call it Miami.
Miami. See, I told you the pronunciation of that gets stuck in your head. It really gets stuck in your head, and then you feel like you don't know how to pronounce the word.
With the Miami one, and then it works. It works well. Pulls it to a nice tight, and I like it. I'd stick with it. Keep it.
Nice.
Okay. Next question.
Is it what we expected compared to his previous solos? And I've written, I think it is what I expected, maybe aside from some of the softer tracks. But I think the general trend of Yoongi's solo outputs has been sort of towards the softer, more reflective music. I had expected him to sort of carry on toward that trajectory. I didn't expect something that sounds like Augusti, the first mixtape, because in that he's really angry. So I wasn't expecting that at all, but I was expecting something akin to D2, which I think is what we've got. I wasn't sure whether he was going to do something completely different. For a while he was putting out all those flower photos, I was like, oh, this album's going to be something because then I thought it was about the album, and I thought it was going to be flower concept and really out there. But yeah, no, it feels right as the end to the Augusti trilogy. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's as expected. as well, because we've had the other two with a theme of it, it just seems like he's just like the same thing, just a level up on content.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's as expected. It's a little bit like Christina might have been lured into this, or maybe we'll get something more ethereal, more softer. But I think it's completely as Yoongi is. I was also wondering, I don't know how I normally answer this question, because when we did Jack in the Box, I'd not listened to Hope World. When we did Indigo, I've still not listened to any of our solos. And I've not listened to August D or D2. I've heard more of it because of the tour. But it feels on brand.
Yeah. I mean,
as someone who hasn't listened to the back catalogue.
I think that's what you've said in the past.
Previously.
You always say, I've not listened.
I haven't.
That remains the case, listeners. So the next question then is standout look. Do you guys have answers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Natasha?
My standout look is the one where he wears the like palm tree flowy top in Higum. The like scene where he's laughing at the goldfish. It complements the hair well. It's like a kind of curl and it's long and he's got this Hawaiian-y like summery top, and I'm just like it's a good vibe. Like if I saw him at beach, I'd love it.
Nice, yeah, me too.
I'm always wondering if I'll see Yoongi at the beach.
Yeah.
Mine is mine's between two. The one in the director's chair.
Oh yeah.
From People Part 2, the one that I was like, oh, I love this picture, and then you were like, let me talk you through all the other 16 pictures in this picture drop. Yeah, I liked that. I think he looked really sort of striking and quite powerful. You can't go wrong with a black roll neck.
Yeah.
So I think that is probably mine. Shout out to him in the blue bomber in Hegum with the chopsticks. I think he looks really swaggy in that.
Yeah.
As he's sort of wandering around, stabbing and murdering. I think that's quite good look.
Okay. I mean, personally...
Just pick one. I'm just joking. Go on, tell us about your look.
Yeah, so I've written, I can't get over the cuddly cardigan he wore in the live after People Part 2.
That is a good one.
Look at that one and I'm like, oh, softest little baby princess. I saw a really funny tweet after that was like when he was making his little like, he's done it in a lot of the, after each concert he puts up like a couple of photos of himself, a couple of photos of the crowd. In one of the two photos every day he's done like a little pout, and he does like a pout in the cuddly cardigan, and someone wrote on Twitter like, girls would be like, oh my god, he's my little princess and stuff. And he's literally like a 30-year-old man. But I was like, yeah, but he's still my princess.
We can't call him my little princess, but he is.
Yeah, he is.
That's ridiculous, but it's true.
It's true.
Okay, so the fluffy cardigan.
Fluffy cardigan. Yeah, I was really torn because I like all the Marie Claire looks, which I talked about before. And his look on Jimmy Fallon was really good with he wore the oversized blazer and the jeans and the Valentino t-shirt. But the one that I actually want to choose, the concert looks are all amazing, I thought. And he's got his like personalized D-Day bomber jacket. We didn't really talk about what he wore, but he's got this bomber jacket where it says D-Day on the back, and then it says Sugar on one arm and August D on the other arm.
Very cool.
Yeah. And he switched it up a few times. He's worn this like white outfit and with the like big chains, but then he wears like a little pearl necklace. He's worn this leather jacket in some of the Chicago concert that he didn't wear in New York, but he had this on day 2 in New York. He had this like faded bomber that looked a bit burnt. It reminded me a bit of Toby's jumpsuit.
Maybe you got it from the same guy. And this is my bomber, but it's burnt.
And then when he performs Station Child, they all bring him like this like
leather
robe thing. But the outfit that actually really caught my eye was in the encore on the first day when he wore these like super ripped jeans. There's like the massive slashes in them, and then he wore this tour t-shirt with the rosette things on the sleeves that I really wanted to buy, but by then I'd already had my VIP merch slot, so I couldn't go back and buy it, sadly. But yeah, he wears like the jeans and the t-shirt with this like wet hair and massive smile, and yeah, I have put a little picture in the doc.
Put a picture in that I took.
will keep that in for when the episode goes out. Next up, fave piece of content. You already said yours.
Yeah, mine's Road to D-Day. Beautiful, beautiful documentary. Really well done. Performances interspersed throughout, which are high quality. Really sort of feels warm and comforting. Seconded by the, like a fucking creepy psycho, seconded by the Amygdala MV, which would be the content I will rewatch.
Yeah, the MVs are separate. The MVs are amazing. All right.
And you can't pick the tar, right?
No.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tasha?
I'm going to go for also Road to D-Day, even though I've not watched it, but you've really sold it to me. I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm like, suck it up, watch it on yourself. Or I might even, if any of you want to stay up and watch it with me, do that like group watch on Disney Plus.
Favorite bit of content. I've not watched it. Oh my god, no! What about Ashwata? I've changed my mind. Is that yours? Is yours Ashwata?
I was gonna add it. Yes.
Shout out to Ashwata, which should be its own spin-off. Should exist on its own separately.
Okay. Well, you can get in touch with RM about that.
I keep trying to, but he's not replying to my text.
Oh no. He's like Halsey to your Yoongi.
He's Halsey to my Yoongi.
Right. I love all the content, obviously. It's amazing how much there's been. I'd say the documentary was a perfect piece of content, and I was really excited about it in the lead up, and I have been since. But I think that's a bit of a cop-out answer. So, well, just because the documentary was so big, it wasn't like a thing that he did for Disney Plus. I think there's Disney Plus stuff that I haven't even watched, actually. But yeah, no, I initially, because I wrote this before I'd watched Ashwata, I chose the Glitch film because I was really excited about the Glitch film. That helped me feel happy, but then I really, really loved Ashwata, so I might have to pick Ashwata.
Yeah, if you pick Ashwata, I'll stick with Road to D-Day. That feels right.
I'll pick Ashwata then, because
it was beautiful.
I have this weird thing for like Namgi content. It's just whenever they're together, I'm like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful thing. It's my favorite pairing.
Soap's still mine. But no, you're right. Maybe it is Namgi. Oh, I don't know. It's too hard to pick. Too hard to pick.
Like, I don't think they're the cutest friends, but I think they're like
of Namgi content as well.
No, exactly. It feels like precious when we get it.
It's precious. Yeah, it's always precious and sweet.
I wasn't expecting them to be like funny like he was on with Jimin, but like I'm always a bit nervous to watch it because I always feel like what if it doesn't live up to my expectations? But I have this like weird, I get very emotionally invested as soon as the two of them together. I read it was an interview today I read with the LA Times. I'll link it, but they sort of said that Namjoon and Yoongi were like the Lennon and McCartney to BTS.
Ah, wow.
Which I was like, that feels right, because that's what you like. If you say it like that, then you understand the sort of gravity of their contributions.
Not that Ringo's not important.
No, exactly.
Maybe Aaron will do Ashwata when he's back before Yoongi's back.
Maybe that would be nice.
Skip.
All right, skip. I don't want to go first. Do you want to go first?
Just drop it all. Skipping 6 out of 7. What are you skipping, Natasha?
I think this was a hard one to choose because I wanted to skip them all. No, I'm just kidding. No. I promise I'm not. No, so I'll have to go with Polar Night because I just think it were alright, but I didn't like in my notes that I've got. That one I'm just like me. Like the other ones I can make comments on, like whether I like the vocal in it or I like the rap in it or I like a certain sound or whatever. That one I've literally got nothing for. It's there, but yeah, I don't think it's a terrible one. Could have done a lot worse.
Nice.
Could be the whole of Jack in the Box.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed at you. I'm seething. Though mine's exactly the same. So I would also skip Polar Night. And that is because before we sat down to record, even though it's just initial reactions, so we don't take loads of notes, I was like, I need to figure out my skip. And I don't know the name of all of these tracks, even though I can sing along to some of them. So I sat there and I played it. And you know what we've not talked about enough? D-Day. D-Day is an
D-Day slaps.
absolute banger.
Yeah.
Slaps all day long, D-Day.
Really does.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think it might be one of the first ones. But then I was like, I think I like Polar Night less than I like the interlude. Because I sometimes, the interlude's great.
Yeah.
It's such a nice little calming, relaxing yoga bang.
He plays guitar on it. Yeah.
So yeah, Polar Night.
Amazing.
This is gonna hurt. Polar Night reminded me of First Love.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, sad rap. Get in the bin.
Wow. You didn't skip First Love.
No, I know, but that's what it reminds me of.
Anyway.
What's your skip?
My skip. I think maybe people might have guessed. But
it's Polar Night.
No.
It's not. You love Polar Night. You keep mentioning it. I'm like, oh shit.
I really like Polar Night, but I do know what you mean. It is a little forgettable, but I like the lyrics. I read the lyrics and I like them.
That's cheated.
But I read the lyrics before the tour so that I wouldn't have like a, when you read the lyrics and you're like, oh my God, I love this song so much more now because I read the lyrics. I know what it's about. I didn't want to have that realization 6 months after the tour.
Fair.
Yeah. I've written... Yoongi, if you ever listen to this, please skip the next 30 seconds because I love everything you've ever done, but it's People Part 2.
Oh.
People Part 2, which hurts my heart because I love People Part 1.
I love you.
But I just, the chorus doesn't make any sense and I couldn't get past it. I wish I could, so yeah.
Okay. Scars. Scars is the last thing, right?
No, we do best
initial favourite. You go, Christine. You tell us your initial favourite.
Okay, initial favourite. I thought it's a lot to choose this, really. But I think when I play the album, like I put it on my playlist, it comes up on shuffle. The song I get most like hyped for is still Hegum, I would say. Because the whole album is fabulous, but when it comes on, I'm like, the song's vibe does the same as the Star for me. And I can't wait to figure it all out, deep dive in it. So yeah, I choose Hegum.
Yeah. Natasha, good pick.
I like SDL. I think it stood out the most, and I enjoy when Alexa finally puts it on. Yeah. What's yours, Leanne?
Mine's Amygdala, obviously.
Right.
To listen to think about, to spend time with, to see performed. I don't know if it's like People Part 2 obviously fits more with my sound, as does Snooze. Like those are songs that like when I listen to them, like, oh, these are nice. But I think even in that mix, Amygdala just sits in its own little area of special Yoongi joy. I think because it's a rocky sound, that sort of helps.
Yeah.
If it would have been like heavier rap, I might have struggled to pick it as my fave.
Uh-huh.
But because it's sort of in the middle and the mix and then the messages and then the trauma and then the sadness.
Yeah.
It's Amygdala.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I like your picks. I think they're both good. They both show off more of his vocals.
We are vocal line girls. Well,
are you?
In general, we prefer vocal line songs.
Like, all you do is hype up rap line, but then you don't.
No, I love rap line, but I really like vocal songs.
Fine.
Like, I like rap liners, the boys of who they are, and their brilliance. But heavy rap music in Korean, not for me.
Fine.
Got a vocal line here.
Nice. Right then, scores.
Scores on the doors.
Yeah.
Right, you go first because yours is a given, Christine.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to end on a happy note. Are you guys going to score it? Okay.
Well, who knows?
But, fine.
If your opinion wasn't a 7, then maybe you could go last. But
well, then it wouldn't be ending on a high, would it? But no, it's a 7. Obviously, it's a 7. Obviously, I would give it a 49 if I could. That's what I've written.
49.
7 times 7. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Smart, quick maths.
Yeah.
The intelligent ones over here.
Yeah, obviously it's an obvious 7.
Do you like it more than you like Map of the Soul Persona?
Yes.
Do you like it more than you like Your Love Yourself?
No, I don't know,
Tia?
actually. They're different. Like, I think there's apples and oranges. Because...
Strawberries and tangerines.
Yeah, like, I think they're two different artists in a way that I sort of get different joy out of.
Yeah, no, actually, because I don't know how I feel about Indigo compared to some of the BTS albums.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a special level of comfort and joy that you get from OT7 that you couldn't really match with the solo work, I don't think. But I don't think any artist could match that. So that's probably not a fair comparison. Whereas if like, I think which song I like most, maybe I'd skew more towards August D. But what I have been thinking about a lot is whether I like it more than D2. I'm not sure.
Oh, you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Well, spoiler for what she's going to rate D2.
I need more time
This is a 7.
it. I need more time with it. Well, you know I love D2.
Yeah. We know. Everyone knows.
Yeah. But TBC, I'll come back to on it.
TBC, it's a 7.
Do you want to go?
I don't know. It depends what Natasha's going to do. I'm happy to love it. I'm happy to do a 6.5. But I'm really picky with my 7s.
Right, yeah.
I am. I don't spaff my 7s around like you do. Like, just giving them out like they're candies. Because I knew if I sat here and I said I'm not going to give it a 7, you'd be like, oh. And I was like, I don't give out 7s all the time. And you'd be like, oh. I'd be like, yep. But you gave Indigo a 7.
Yeah, you did.
And I think I gave Jack in the Box a 7.
No, you didn't. You gave 6.5.
6.5. Perfect. Jack in the Box, 6.5. D-Day, 6.5. That also doesn't feel super fair. 6.6 for D-Day. No, I like it as much as I like Jack in the Box. I love Jack in the Box. I loved more. I did. I love Obi. I mean, as we get into the solo work, it becomes much clearer about how like bias and bias records work.
Yeah.
So when you were saying, I feel a specific affinity and comfort from OT7, I thought that sentence was going to end with my bias. So I was like, Indigo has this special place in my heart that feels different to how I feel about the BTS albums.
Yeah.
And then the same with the rest of the other solo work. So, like, I can appreciate, I see D-Day. I'm like, yeah, D-Day, I see you. You are brilliant. Your tour is brilliant. The content around this is brilliant. Yoongi, obviously, you're a genius.
Uh-huh.
Am I going to listen to it as much as I'd listen to Mapless Persona or Indigo? No, I don't love rap. It's 6.5, good solo work. Glad that you did a tour. Glad that it's brought you some joy.
Lots of joy.
Loads of joy, insurmountable joy. Also, though, still sad, happy to move forward.
Still sad about what?
About Hobie leaving, D-Day's there, and then RM's leaving. So it's been hard for me to be as excited as you are.
Yeah.
Because I've got all of this stuff pulling on me, but you'll get there. Because,
Yoongi
will go and then V'll go.
It's separate, but no, I meant as in like, what I meant by the like OT7 offers a different comfort. It's not that they're more comforting. It's for different times. I think if I want to love myself and feel happy and all that sort of stuff, then I go to OT7. But if I'm having a really awful day and I feel like no one understands me and like everything's crap, then I go to Yoongi. So yeah.
No, the analogy I was going to draw is imagine JK's album drops and then the next day Yoongi drops about his enlistment. And you have to feel all those things at the same time. Where, like, Natasha's like, best day ever, this is happening. And you're like, well, actually, I'm actually going through quite a lot of sadness here. And then you're like, I'm annoyed that I can't be happy. And I'm like, I'm annoyed that you want to be happy when I'm crying.
Yeah, fine.
So that's the turbulent nature of our relationship with BTS and having biases that you feel affinity with. But yeah, I think Yoongi did a brilliant job on D-Day.
Yes, he did indeed.
I don't know if it's better than D2 or August D because I've not listened to them. But the tour was banging.
Yeah.
Would see again. Natasha, what did you give Jimin?
Can't remember.
Maybe it was 3.5. I don't know. I think you gave it 5 and I gave it 6. And then you gave it and it was higher than Jack in the Box. Maybe it was 3.5.
I think it was just one higher than Jack in the Box.
And Indigo. To be clear, you gave Indigo 2.5. To be clear.
So, obviously, Christine wants to end on a high. I'm going to end on a high. You don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to end on a high, giving D-Day a 3. Listen. Because of the tour, he gets extra half a point because it's how I remember them. But,
what?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. All you've said is that you like it.
Yeah, but like when I normally get a BTS album before all like COVID and everything, it was BTS album, they were a tour, it might have been in America, but I got a tour. Or album, all this content.
She's saying, how can you give it a 3 when you love it?
You said all you've said is that you like it. Except for Polar Night, but like
I have said more negative things about D-Day than you have, and I give it a 6.5.
I like that there's a tour.
Yeah, but you said that the tour gave him a half a point, so you think it's crap, but the tour gives him half a point.
It's an initial reaction. Like,
yeah, but for Indigo and Jack in the Box, you were like, no, don't like them, don't like that, everything's meh, don't want to listen to it.
Too many features. Can't believe there's all these randos on his album.
Yeah.
Skip. I'd skip the whole thing if I could.
And then this time you've been like, yeah, I like it. Love
2.5.
the tour. 2.5. The tour gives it a 3.
You need to reassess your
scoring. Doesn't make any sense.
You're confusing. You've sent Christine on a real roller coaster.
Yeah.
She was expecting. When you said I'm going to
expecting,
end on a high, I thought, oh, she's going to drop a 6.
I was expecting 4 or above, I think.
4 or above. 3 is fine.
No, it's
3
not.
is awful.
3 is worse than Face. It's not worse than Face.
It's not worse than Face. Yeah.
Yeah, but June's not good at all.
Yeah, but exactly, you've scored it lower than Face.
Yeah, that should be in his favor.
Yeah, but I like his songs were all right. Like I like these songs, but like I'm not gonna be like banger. Jimin's I can cry in the club. I can.
But do you like
this one? I can listen to it.
Yeah,
but it's not like
it's not your vibe. I understand, but like, do you think the songs are better than the songs in Jack in the Box? Because I think that has to be the measuring stick here, really.
No, you can't. She can't have that as a measuring stick because she said that the songs on Indigo were as good as the ones on Jack in the Box, which is obviously an embarrassment.
No, but like, I think my problem with it is now is if I start giving the rap line, which previously I've not like, maybe like one song of their other albums. If I start giving Augusty 4, then or a 5, it's like, but then my idea of Indigo now, so many months in, is different.
Yeah, but it's an initial reaction.
Well, yeah, the initial reaction to August D is that it's a 3.
Yeah,
because it's the initial reaction. Me scoring to Indigo now would have changed, and for Jack in the Box would have changed. I think that I need to not just listen to it for however, like 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks. I need to have a special moment with a song where if, I don't know, walking or on a coach ride somewhere or driving somewhere on a plane, doing whatever. I need that like thing to like, but this is better. The like initial reaction is that, but I also like the addition of the tour. And I might have been like, yeah, I like the songs, there's none that I hate, but like also like don't want to be like it's shit. I do like some of the songs, like some of the songs are
so
good.
You said that's what's getting me confused because you said on Arms and J-Hopes, even though you might prefer it now, initially you were like, oh, one of them is like, it sucks, but like maybe 1 or 2 good songs, like that was it. Whereas this one, you've been like, yeah, there's a lot of good songs, no songs that I hate. Whereas for, at least I felt like for Jack in the Box and Indigo, you were like, I hate all these songs, like 1 or 2 are okay. And then it's like, oh, but actually they're the same score. I'm like, that's not true. But it's fine, whatever. Anyway.
It's a 3. It's higher than the other rap line.
Because of the tour.
In that instance, Natasha's favourite of rap line is Yoongi. That's all that you need to take away from this, Christine, is Yoongi is the best rapper in the world. He is. He's the pinnacle of all life. And no one else is as good.
That's true. That's factual.
That's what she said by giving him an extra point.
The
5.
world starts and ends with him. That's correct. Yes.
Your world starts and ends with him.
It does.
That's fine.
We need to.
I think you need to reassess your scoring matrix, but I don't think she will.
No, I don't think so either.
And
but,
actually,
it keeps it fun, listeners. You can never know.
I thought it'd be a real high as well. You lulled us into a false sense of security.
You really did, yeah.
And for a second I thought, she's changed. She's grown. She's really taken on board our feedback about how cruel it is when someone's poured their heart out for years about their own personal trauma and struggles into work for you 2.5.
No, but like now I need to take time and digest that.
She did say she was going to go watch Road to D-Day.
Okay.
Whew.
All right.
Okay, fine.
I think we shall call this initial reaction there because it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
That's the end of part 2.
That's the end of part 2, and there will be no part 3 of this one. Sad times, guys, I know, but the next one will be loads of parts.
Dark and Wild, 7 parts.
Dark and Wild, yeah. Dark and Wild has loads of songs, so I'm hoping to keep it to 3 parts, but can't be sure. But yeah,
we're in the Dark and Wild time. We've allocated the songs.
Mm-hmm.
We've not started watching the performances. We've been a bit busy.
Yeah, we have really.
D-Day and D-Day tour.
Yeah. Well, Face and then D-Day came out in quick succession, really. So I think that's gotten in the way of the normal schedule. But fear not, dear listeners.
Fear not.
Dark and Wild will be with you
so soon.
In the next 3 to 4 months.
You were going to say weeks.
No. Yeah. So please listen to it when it comes out. Please listen to this when it comes out. Please listen to part 1 if you haven't already. Let us know what you think. Where can they let us know what they think, Natasha?
You can send us an email at generationbts@gmail.com or send us a message on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter at generationbts_.
Big shout out to all our fans that we met in New York.
Oh, yeah.
It was lovely to meet you. We're excited for some of the new followers that we've got.
Yeah, welcome,
and we
guys.
Liked giving out all the freebies and getting to talk to people and interact with people.
Yeah, my favorite Americans were definitely the armies that I met.
They were.
Yeah, all the armies we met were lovely. Really
good.
Helpful, really lovely, knowledgeable, and yeah, big fans of Yoongi, which I appreciate. So I guess all that remains to be said is I've been Christine.
I've been Leanne.
And I've been Natasha, and we have been
Generation BTS.
See you forever.
D-Day, Natasha hates D-Day.